What is up, everybody? It is JT Sports and Matt, you guys, with another video. This video, I'm here with my Carolina Panthers Deshaun Watson mock trade. I'm going to be putting together 5 potential trade scenarios for the Carolina Panthers and the Houston Texans, what the Houston Texans could receive for Deshaun Watson and what the Carolina Panthers will have to give up for Deshaun Watson. And the reason why I'm doing this is because a lot of Carolina Panthers fans out there think that they can get Deshaun Watson just by giving up Christian McCaffrey and 2 first-round picks. That is not proper compensation for a top 3, arguably top 5 quarterback that is 25 years old, in his prime, and is one of the best QBs in the NFL right now. And Panthers fans think that Christian McCaffrey and 2 first-round picks is just going to be enough. No, when you are trading for a superstar quarterback like Deshaun Watson, a generational talent, you need to give up way more compensation than just 2 first-round picks and Christian McCaffrey. And I'm going to have trades that include Christian McCaffrey and trades that don't include Christian McCaffrey. Because what if the Houston Texans don't want Christian McCaffrey? Because I asked a couple of Panthers fans, I say, why are you trading away Christian McCaffrey for Deshaun Watson? And those Panthers fans said, because you don't need a great halfback to win the Super Bowl. So if you don't need a great halfback to win, why do you think the Houston Texans will want Christian McCaffrey? So here is my first trade scenario. So my first trade scenario is the Houston Texans trade Deshaun Watson to the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers receive Deshaun Watson, halfback David Johnson, and the Houston Texans 2022 second-round pick. Now, the Houston Texans received the 8th overall pick from the Carolina Panthers for the 2021 NFL Draft, the Carolina Panthers 2022 first-round selection, the Carolina Panthers 2023 first-round selection, and Christian McCaffrey. If you are a Carolina Panthers fan, this is pretty much your ideal trade that you probably would want for Deshaun Watson. Now, of course, the Houston Texans, since they are getting Christian McCaffrey, they probably are going to want to trade away David Johnson to free up more cap space so they can get rid of his contract, because David Johnson happens to have one of the worst contracts in the NFL right now. So if you are the Carolina Panthers and you are a Panthers fan, this is pretty much your ideal trade. Now, you may not want David Johnson, but you could have some usefulness for David Johnson because Mike Davis is a free agent. On top of that, you're trading away Christian McCaffrey, so you're going to have a hole there at the halfback position, and you do have a good amount of cap space, so you could eat up David Johnson's cap hit. And I think that this will probably be, what Carolina Panthers fans will probably be happy with, because you're not giving up any marquee players on the defense side of football. This is probably the dream trade for Panthers fans that you guys will like. So, trade number 2. The second trade scenario that I have for the Carolina Panthers trading for Deshaun Watson. The Houston Texans trade Deshaun Watson to the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers received Deshaun Watson, and the Houston Texans received the 8th overall pick for the 2021 NFL Draft from the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers 2022 and 2023 first-round selections, and pass rusher Brian Burns. Now, this is a trade that a lot of you Carolina Panthers fans are going to hate, because nobody's going to want to have to give up Brian Burns. But in all reality, if the Houston Texans general manager comes at you and says, hey, we don't want Christian McCaffrey, give us something better, or we're not going to make this trade happen, well, the Houston Texans will probably want Brian Burns. The reason why Brian Burns will be a big acquisition for the Houston Texans was because they just got rid of J.J. Watt, and they need a pass rusher. In the NFL, it is a passing league. So the 2 most important positions on the defense side of football are pass rusher and cornerback. And the Carolina Panthers happen to have Brian Burns, who happens to be one of the best young up-and-coming pass rushers in the NFL right now. So it will only be right for the Houston Texans to try to acquire Brian Burns in this trade. And if you are the Carolina Panthers, you're going to have to make some decisions. You are going to have to give up a superstar player if the Houston Texans do not want Christian McCaffrey. And it's most likely going to be on the defense side of football. So you're probably going to have to give up Brian Burns. But hey, that is, going to be a big loss for Panthers fans. But it's going to be worth it if you're trying to get a superstar quarterback in Deshaun Watson. I want you Carolina Panthers fans to understand that this is what a real idealistic trade for Deshaun Watson looks like. It's not going to involve 2 first-round selections and Christian McCaffrey, because you also have to look at it like this. Houston may not want McCaffrey. Okay, so this is what's going to happen. You're going to have to prepare for different scenarios. So the third trade scenario, the Carolina Panthers receive Deshaun Watson, David Johnson, and the Houston Texans 2022 second round pick. Now, what the Houston Texans receive in this third trade scenario is the Carolina Panthers 8th overall pick in the upcoming 2021 NFL Draft, the Carolina Panthers 2022 and 2023 first round selections, Christian McCaffrey, and cornerback Dante Jackson. Now, the Carolina Panthers get David Johnson and Deshaun Watson because the Houston Texans probably don't want David Johnson on the roster since they already had Christian McCaffrey. You don't want to be paying hefty tasks for two running backs when you already had Christian McCaffrey. So they probably get rid of David Johnson to get rid of his cap hit and to get rid of his contract since the Carolina Panthers have more than enough salary cap to take it on. Plus, for the Houston Texans, they say, hey, man, Christian McCaffrey may not be enough for us. You need to sweeten up the deal to make us want to take Christian McCaffrey. So what the Carolina Panthers can do is they can offer up cornerback Dante Jackson. Now, Dante Jackson isn't one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL, but I think he is a solid cornerback. I think he is an above average corner, and I think you're just adding him to sweeten up the trade package because if you're Houston, if you don't really have all that much interest in Christian McCaffrey and you're the Carolina Panthers, you're probably going to make them want to have to take Christian McCaffrey. So on top of that, you give them an additional piece and cornerback Dante Jackson, which will improve the Houston Texans secondary, and I think they will be pretty satisfied with the trade. Now, Carolina Panthers fans probably wouldn't like the idea of giving up Dante Jackson, but like I mentioned earlier, this is the price that you have to pay when you want a superstar quarterback like Deshaun Watson that's 25 years old in his prime and happens to be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Now, trade scenario number 4. This is where things start to get really, really spicy. So the Carolina Panthers receive Deshaun Watson. And in exchange, the Carolina Panthers give the Houston Texans, and the Texans receive the Carolina Panthers 8th overall pick in the upcoming NFL Draft. They receive the Panthers 2022 and 2023 first round selections, and they acquire safety Jeremy Chin. Now, for the Texans, you need some help in the secondary. Now, you pair Justin Reed up with Jeremy Chin, then you have one of the best, if not the best, safety tandem in the NFL. Because Jeremy Chin was a stud this year. I feel like he should have won Defensive Rookie of the Year over Chase Young, but I understand why they gave it to Chase Young because Chase Young's team made it to the playoff. The Carolina Panthers didn't make it to the playoffs. And you look at Jeremy Chin and you look at his versatility. Not only can he play safety, but he can also play linebacker as well. He can do a lot of things. He's like a mini Jamal Adams, but a lot better in coverage. He also made a lot of big plays for the Carolina Panthers this year. Jeremy Chin probably won 2 games for the Carolina Panthers this year, if I'm not mistaken. So for the Houston Texans, if you don't want Christian McCaffrey and you're the Carolina Panthers, you don't want to give up Brian Burns, then the next best thing is to give up Jeremy Chin because the Houston Texans may not want Christian McCaffrey or Dante Jackson. So you're going to have to either give up one of your best players in Jeremy Chin or Brian Burns in exchange for Deshaun Watson. Now, trade scenario number 5, my last potential trade scenario for the Carolina Panthers trying to get Deshaun Watson. The Panthers receive Deshaun Watson, and they give the Houston Texans their upcoming 8th overall selection in the upcoming NFL Draft, and they give up Brian Burns and Jeremy Chin. So if you're the Carolina Panthers, you don't want to give up any more first-round selections. You give up Brian Burns and Jeremy Chin. And for the Houston Texans, this works out pretty well because, first of all, you really won't have any need because essentially you're getting 2 first-round players who are equal to first-round picks. Brian Burns is one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. Jeremy Chin is one of the best up-and-coming safeties in the NFL. On top of that, with his versatility, so essentially, you already have the 8th overall pick. You don't really need any first-round compensation because you're getting 2 players that equal first-round picks in Brian Burns and Jeremy Chin. If you're a Houston Texans fan, you basically be looking at this trade, say, hey, man, we pretty much robbed the Carolina Panthers because we get the 8th overall pick. We could possibly trade up, or maybe we could get a quarterback like a Trey Lance, or maybe Justin Fields falls down to us with the 8th overall selection, or maybe we can get a quarterback in free agency. So you essentially give your defense a huge boost. Your defense is going to be way better than what it is now with the addition of Brian Burns and Jeremy Chin. On top of that, you already have Justin Reed as well, one of the more underrated safeties in the NFL. For Houston, your defense is going to be in pretty good shape heading into the 2021 NFL season. And for the Carolina Panthers, you get Deshaun Watson, but on top of that, you have to start pretty much from scratch on the defense side of football, because you essentially give up two of your best players on the defense side of football, Brian Burns and Jeremy Chin, who are two Pro Bowl caliber players. So this is it for my Carolina Panthers Deshaun Watson mock trade. I know there are probably a lot more other trade scenarios out there. Let me know your potential trade packages if you were the Carolina Panthers trying to trade for Deshaun Watson, and give me some realistic ones. I don't want to hear no cheap ones. Give me some realistic trade scenarios that the Carolina Panthers could put together in exchange for Deshaun Watson, because I know these trades are probably, not all that great, but I just wanted to give you guys what a realistic trade, or what you have to give up bare minimum for a superstar quarterback like Deshaun Watson that is under the age of 30, that happens to be one of the top 3, top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL. So make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel for more NFL videos and content, and thanks for watching.